It's Liam Alexander Stewart with Inside the Ropes, and I'm back again with another fantastic interview for you today. You can see my guest across to my left. We're talking about tag team royalty in the building today. We're talking about someone that is in the JAPW Hall of Fame, former Ring of Honor tag team champion, and multi-time WWE tag team champion, and one of the nicest guys around in the business. It's none other than Mr. Charlie Haas. Charlie, how are you doing today?
Well, thank you for that warm introduction. And man, I am glad to be having this interview with you and be able to get my name and my, and letting people know what's going on with Charlie Haas and overseas, especially in Scotland. I love Scotland. That was like the first country that when I signed with WWE and World's Greatest Tag Team debuted, or Team Angle at the time. Scotland was the first country on our European tour. So always has a close spot in my heart, man. Warm spot. So
well, I'm glad we left a good impression, because that's not always our strong point. But you mentioned that they're getting the name of what Charlie Haas is out there is what this is all about. We're going to talk about your career. I've got it broken down sort of by some key moments, and as always, it only makes sense to start from the beginning, sort of pre-WWE. You and your brother work in the US independent scenes. You guys are the Haas brothers. AWC in 98, Biggie Biggs, Billy Wills, and then going over to, of course, Jersey All Pro, winning the tag titles there against guys like the Nation of Immigration and the Skinhead Experience. Like, what's your sort of memories of your time pre-WWE working with your brother? Do you look back on that time fondly, and what do you think that kind of taught you that stuck with you all this time later?
Well, one thing that was one thing that I'll always remember. So I guess Russ and I were maybe, can't say we're pioneers. Maybe we were pioneers for that type of tag team wrestling. Prelude before Ring of Honor, because Ring of Honor did not start yet. Russ and I held both the Jersey All Pro and the CZW titles at the same time, the tag team titles. We had our amateur background, spoke for itself, both, in college, Division I All-Americans. But with Russ, he was a gymnast as well, very athletic. And I was more of the ground and pound to take down the technician. So we were able to do a lot of stuff that you see. Let's say today's tag team wrestling these guys are absolute phenoms. They're great athletes, better than I ever could be, probably up there with where my brother was. But I think we paved the way by introducing a lot of double team spots that we did. But at the same time, we were still learning tag team wrestling. And it wasn't until we got to Jim Kettner, until we learned how to really, not to bury the ref, how to hone our craft, but also not to give away all our spots that we did in one match, So it wasn't for, I think we paved the way for a lot. Like, we broke the Briscoes in. We were the first team to break the Briscoe brothers in. And then, we saw a lot of tag teams come up, with the Hit Squad. Like you said, the Soul Brothers, Nation of Immigration. There was a bunch. Ivan and the Skinhead, tag team, and then Joey Matthews and Christian York. I think that was one of the biggest tag teams that on the independents that really told us, hey man, we can do this. And then from there we went on with with the Island Boys, which were 3 Minute Warning, and so on and so on.
So you guys eventually you get signed, you have your tryout, you work through the territories, Memphis, Heartland, and sort of 02. You win the HWA championship from Val Venus, moves to OVW when that sort of came around, and then Boxing Day 2002 on SmackDown, Team Angle comes about. What are your memories of that period, sort of debuting in SmackDown? What was the reception like in the locker room for yourself and Shelton? And is it kind of known whose idea the pairing was? Was that a Kurt decision, or was that sort of one of the writers that went, we've got these guys in OVW that we think makes perfect sense to pair with Kurt?
No, well, Team Angle was supposed to be 4 people, and it was supposed to be Russ and I, my brother and I, and Shelton and Kurt. So it was always going to be 4. And when Russ passed away, put it on hold for about a year because I blew my ACL out as well during that time. And so it gave me time to heal. But then when Shelton and I, they put us, they folded HWA. They sent me down to OVW. And my hat goes off to Jim Cornette and Danny Davis. That they saved my career. They really pushed for me, and they're pushing for me as a singles guy, as a big baby face down there. But then we were doing a show when Shelton was on his way out of OVW, and Jim Ross was down there watching the match he had with Red Dog, and I had a match with Chris Nowinski, and he was like, "Man, why don't we continue with the Team Angle?" And I'm like, he knew with Russ passing away. He goes, "No, how come we're not doing it with you three?" And we're like, "I don't know." So Jim Ross went ahead and talked to them, and he asked Shelton. He goes, "Would you tag with Charlie?" He goes, "Absolutely." And I'm like, "Yeah, definitely," because I think they were like hesitant. They're thinking, "Well, your brother just died. Do we really want to put him in another tag team? How's he going to be?" But dude, I accepted it I just wanted to finish what my brother and I started. Shelton became my brother. It was like an angel, like Russ sent him there to help me move on. But I tell you what, man, it was a great experience. I couldn't be happier. We were able to be trained for about a year prior to our debut. So all of 2002, like the beginning until we debuted till December 2002. Seriously, we were trained by Arn Anderson, and we did dark matches and house shows. And you're being trained by the best. My top tag team of all time, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and being trained by one and a half of that by the greatest mind in tag team wrestling, if not the greatest mind in wrestling. And Shelton and I were fortunate, and we did everything he said, and it worked out. Now, to answer your question, how did the locker room take to us? I think they were like, well, these guys hot-shotted right into the tag titles. Are they really that good? Have they paid their dues? They didn't understand, that Shelton came right from college to OVW. I was on the independents for about 5 years before, I got called up, and then Memphis, Heartland, OVW. It was probably a good 7.5 years I was on, I was paying dues. So I don't think people really knew my story. I think they knew about with Russ passing away and all that. And they saw us always up there, but when they saw Shelton and I hot shot, but when they saw how good we were and how we clicked, plus they really weren't going to question us because we're real shooters, and
yeah.
What people don't understand about that is like we can legitimately wrestle at a high level, like at a college, university, Olympic style level. And that takes a lot, so people don't want to question you, and then the next thing you know, you get embarrassed. So but when they put us with Kurt, it made sense. Kurt was was killing it at the time. We came in and we fit the mold. So I was very fortunate.
No, definitely. And I think it was clear from the moment you and Shelton kind of started appearing on television, at least to the fans behind the curtain, just how good you guys were. And as far as people to learn under during your first sort of television run, doesn't come much better than Kurt Angle and working with sort of Arn before that. How instrumental has Kurt been in sort of your development, both as an athlete, as a wrestler, but also as a person during your time together? Was he kind of really sort of father figure taking you guys on, but also, being like, don't mess this opportunity up? And maybe what's a piece of advice that he gave you that stuck with you to this day?
He told us, he said the good thing is being an amateur wrestler, like you're not afraid of contact and your body's used to being calloused. He's like, Charlie goes, you don't understand. He goes, your body, and Shelton, he goes, Shelton, you and your body, your two bodies have been destroyed by amateur wrestling. He goes, but this sport's really the sport will hurt you just as much. He goes, just be smart of where you take your bumps, be smart of what spots you're going to do. Don't give them everything. He goes, you guys are going to want to come out of the shoot, wanting to, to sacrifice your body to get over. He goes, when, really it's not so much the moves, it's the work between the moves, it's the body language, and all that. So that's the advice. And man, we're still really tight, really good friends. I sent him a video yesterday with me and my daughters, wishing him good luck. He just had talk about a tough son of a bitch. He just had not one knee replacement, but 2 knee replacements. My ex-wife Jackie had a knee replacement, and I knew how hard it was for her, how painful, but to have 2 of them, it's just God bless him, man. If you're gonna get it done, you might as well just get them both done at the same time. Yeah. So
save on that rehab time.
Yeah, but if anyone, that's an Olympic son of a gun, man. He's a hell of an athlete and hell of a person, and man, I think he pushes his body. that's his competitive spirit. He pushes his body, more than anyone else would do. So, and when he, if he's not competing right now because of wrestling and because of his body, he's like, well, you know what? Then I'm gonna prove that I can do double knee replacements. So, what's next? We'll call him the Bionic Man. But anyways, he's in good spirits, and I'm happy for him, man. And but we Shelton and I talk almost once, twice a week, and Kurt and I. We're always texting or talking. So, Team Angle is a family, man. We've been together for a while, and I hope we can do a WrestleCon down together or something, whatever happens. I'd love to see us reunite some way or form, shape or form.
Definitely. And, you mentioned Team Angle come in, you killing it on top of the world. 2004 then rolls around. Suddenly Shelton sent to Raw. You remember SmackDown, the team split. You kind of talked previously about yourself and Kurt, this being sort of related to Evolution and Team Angle getting sort of better reactions than them sort of on the pay-per-views when you guys shared the card. How did you feel at the time when Shelton was split the other way? Was it kind of sort of an anger, a frustration, or were you like, cool, this is the time for me to do my thing?
It was a frustration. I felt like, Kurt looks back. We talk about it. He feels like he should have fought harder for us to stay together. He came back from the neck surgery, and he's just like, we're turning you babyface. So then what do we do with Team Angle? Well, keep them heel, make them the world's greatest tag team. He's like, man, he goes, he didn't realize at the time how popular we were. I mean, I don't think any of us really did until we go now today. We're like, man, were we? I hate calling us this. I mean, I hate saying it because I really don't know. But I mean, I guess Team Angle is iconic. Maybe it is, the fans would have to let me know. I hate saying that, because I really don't know. I was part of it. So, I mean, how good were we really? I would like to think we were one of the best, but people say, no, you guys really were. So I have to take them at their word. Man, we were frustrated. We're like, why would you guys split us so soon when we were rocking and rolling? I mean, I knew on the other side on Raw, they had Evolution. We were competing against them. But our ratings are doing really well. And I think at the time, they had 4 people in their group. We had 3. And I think we just clicked so well. I think maybe there's some jealousy on the other side saying, maybe we should, this is getting over more than we thought it would be. When you had Triple H running Evolution, and he's like, well, no one can be better than me. So whatever.
So this what happens. 2005 rolls around, and you're released by the WWE after sort of 5-6 years with the company, and after being one of the most over acts for sort of a period of 2-3 years. Looking back, do you remember sort of your initial reaction, and were you ever told why you were let go, or was it just sort of like, we don't have anything
I think it was
you?
They let us go when Jackie and I got married, and we came back the day we came back from our honeymoon, they let us go. So I don't know what, who knows what the reasoning is. I mean, you really don't know. And, I've quit trying to think about it, what caused it. But it is what it is. They brought me back. I should not have come back. What I should have done is just stayed over in Japan and wrestled, or maybe Jackie was at TNA, maybe go there. I mean, there was nowhere else to work. There was nowhere else to work, except for over in Japan. And I should have just stayed there. But they brought me back. I was in Italy a lot working there. And that was fun. I just should have stayed away, because when they brought me back, they're like, we're gonna push you. We're gonna have you beat Shelton. We're gonna push you for the IC title. And none of it came to fruition. It was like, and then I was in limbo, on and off of tag teams. And it was just, it was a nightmare. I mean, I appreciate them bringing me back, and I was able to feed my family or pay the bills, but was I happy with it? No, not career wise, not at all. So.
You mentioned coming back in that feud with Shelton, obviously coming in sort of kayfabe as RVD's sort of mystery opponent for him. It really seemed like that period of time, sort of just before your return and sort of during and after, that Shelton was set to be the guy, sort of like world champion, face of the company. And, we were seeing him have great TV matches with guys like HBK, and for whatever reason, it never really came to fruition. As someone who was in the locker room at the time, and obviously being as close to Shelton as you were, why do you think it never worked out for him in that regard? And did you ever hear any sort of mumblings in the locker room that like he was going to get that shot, he was going to be the guy? Because it seemed, even looking back at that time now, he was over with the crowd. He seemed to be over with the guys backstage, and then it just didn't happen.
It's you just don't know. It's like 1 minute they're pushing you, and the next minute, man, it's you could look at somebody wrong, you could say something wrong. These writers like this is where and this is where today you have pro wrestling and you have sports entertainment. WWE, I think Shelton and I are more pro wrestlers. We like to call it in the ring. Our work is not see-through. It's snug, it's stiff. But are we creative writers, or do we? No, and a lot of problems, like they hire all these writers from Hollywood that have never been in the ring, and they've never wrestled. They don't know what we've gone through, and they don't know what it feels like to be in the ring. Now, I can't do what their job is. I don't know how to go out and write a book. Not that I couldn't. And I have one in the works, by the way, but I could not, I couldn't do what they did, but so when they write, they give you so they put you in an angle and they give you a promo. Here's what you need to say. They give you a list of, and then, no, you got to memorize this. And here's the key words. And you have to, we need you to put the emphasis on this, and we need you to, the tone has to be this and this. And I'm like, dude, you don't know what Charlie Haas feels like or Shelton Benjiman feels like in this moment.
Yeah.
If I just did a 30-minute match with HBK, and I'm tired, don't have me come out with, oh my gosh, that was the best match. I mean, dude, I'm going to tell you how an athlete should feel, when, okay, let's say when David Beckham, after a great, soccer game, they win, the Premier Cup or whatever, or, Messi. I mean, when they're interviewing right after they win, I mean, it's the excitement. It's what they feel right there. It's not like, okay, let's tone it back. And this is what, I mean, so we're athletes, and this is that's when it becomes sports entertainment. And I feel like, that's where we've gotten away from. So when you start bringing people in to tell you how to feel, to say, to act, what to do. Let me tell you something. Randy Orton, they give him something, he throws that stuff right away. He says what he wants and how he does it. Brock, finally they got rid of Heyman from him. They pulled him, and now he does what he wants, it says, and I think they're starting to listen. I know right now with so many different promotions there are, and the promotion that I just bought and I'm starting up, dude, like I have Kevin Sullivan booking for me. And when we do this, we tell them, here's the angle. Go out and say, here's the bullet points we want you to do. Go say it how you want it. Well, I mean, no, I want you to be you. I don't want you to be a person that I'm telling you to be. I want you to be this person. I mean, case in point, and I'll just use him as an example. Joe Henning, Kurt Henning's son, third generation wrestler. How in the hell can you go out and be a McGillicuddy and feel like that is going to, if you don't feel comfortable in your own skin, how can you go out and get that guy over? Let him be Joe Henning, let him be a third generation, superstar, which he should be, up there with Randy Orton. So that's the, and I think that was the problem with, Shelton and I, is that, these writers are like, well, they're difficult. They can't say it that way. Or here's what they also, they don't have that X factor. I mean, we don't have that it factor. And I'm like, man, we were winning national titles and All American when you guys were just fucking reading comic books. So don't tell me that I don't have an X, so, and, and Shelton's a big comic nerd and which is nothing wrong with reading comics. I mean, I love the comics too, but I'm just saying, don't tell me what we've been doing our whole lives, preparing for this, that we don't have it when we do. So
you mentioned sort of that sports entertainment, and sort of 2008 to 2010 was kind of a really weird time watching in terms of what Charlie Haas was doing. It seemed like sort of a mishmash of ideas were coming together. You had the team with Mike Knox, you had Haas Hogan and sort of the interpretation stuff and that.
They were trying to get me out of WWE. So I was just, man, when they gave me the character gimmick, John Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace did that. I'll tell you what, I mean, I wasn't going to pout about it and be, oh, this is bullshit. Dude, I did to the best of my ability. I tried to honor these icons, which they were. And, I got more people coming up to me. And actually, those pictures and those autographs are worth more now than I even knew. Like, if I sign it as like the Glamour Haas or, Haas Hogan or Stone Cold Steve Austin, dude, those things are worth a lot. I mean, you're talking about $50 to $75 an autograph if I sign it that way. So I'm like, all right. So, I mean, it's who's laughing at what, but, yeah, but I think it was their way of trying to get me out, but it is what it is.
February 2010, you're released from your WWE contract. You make some sort of appearances, New Japan in the US, NWA. You went back to sort of Jersey All Pro Wrestling, losing the New Jersey State Championship to the late Brody Lee. You eventually end up in Ring of Honor as wrestling's greatest tag team, and you're in ROH for sort of around 3 years, taking on a who's who of independent talent. What was it like for you going from sort of that more comfortable environment with the WWE, sort of a steady paycheck, knowing what you're doing, knowing who you are, and then going into sort of the quite dog eat dog style world of the independents in the 2010s?
Well, you got to remember, I was forged in that dog eat dog world. So I started with Jersey All Pro. I started on the East Coast with ECWA. I had no problem with it because I knew what to expect. But WWE gave me to where I could go even further and go over to England to wrestle, go over to Canada to wrestle. I mean, because of what WWE gave me. So I was able to use my name, Charlie Haas, that was from the Haas brothers, and keep it, and just able to use that WWE platform to springboard me to, to be able to still pay for my family, or to pay the bills. And, eventually when Shelton got released, Ring of Honor came along. So it was, I was nothing. I mean, I was used to that style. I like I said, man, I think we paved our ways and pioneered it. We were forged in that. So it didn't scare me one bit at all.
As someone who's been in that unique sort of perspective and environment where you've worked for the WWE, you've done Ring of Honor, you've done New Japan, so you've worked for the bigger alternatives. As someone who's done that environment, do you sort of look at something like TNA back in 2005, AEW now, and think that they can seriously challenge the WWE, or do you think WWE at this point is just so big and in such a position that it's almost impossible to really compete with it?
Well, I think WWE it's a marketing genius. Vince has a great business plan. I mean, look what he's doing with all the NIL contracts with all names on. I mean, he's doing something that all the professional sports can't do, because that would be breaking the NCAA violations. But we're sports entertainment; we're not real, so he can get away with it. It is it's a marketing. I mean, here's the deal: I don't know any other promotion. And that's the thing is TNA stayed in Orlando, so they did not travel. Maybe they would do house shows every now and then, but they didn't. And they do house shows. They did, but their TV tapings are mostly right there in Orlando, but they never traveled outside the United States. The only ones I really, WCW, I guess, is really the ones that ever traveled outside, with WWE. And I guess World Class tried it a couple of times going over to Israel, and that Michael Hayes screwed that up. But anyways, it's just that, they were, it's hard to build that fan base. They are such a marketing genius. Like even in Japan, going over to Japan, the crowd there for New Japan or All Japan, which I've wrestled for both, are totally different than the WWE crowd when you go over there. They want that WWE experience. So the crowd cheers as if it's, it's back in America. Then when you wrestle for All Japan and New Japan, it's a totally different atmosphere, but it's just, I think it was hard for TNA to get ahead. I don't think they ever knew what they were getting themselves into, and I know then they started spending money on people that really was just collecting money. They really didn't give a shit about making this promotion grow. It was all about me. I need this. And that's when you have the wrong, when you have those type of personalities in there, and I get it. They just want to make the money and get out and try to retire, and they're towards the end of their career, but it hurts the future of the business. So
definitely. And we mentioned TNA, and which obviously we got on to become Impact. In the start of this year, we saw you make a surprising appearance in Impact, taking on Josh Alexander. I want to use this as a point to ask you kind of what the future holds for Charlie Haas in wrestling, because you mentioned your new promotion, you mentioned sort of the book. I want to use this as a sort of chance to pass over to you and for you to let me and for the people to know what's Charlie Haas's plans in terms of wrestling and sort of wider activities.
Yeah, when the pandemic hit, I never thought it would happen, and now this is a great time, and that's why I see a lot of promotions being able to maneuver and be able to do shows overseas because of internet TV. Or even on Peacock. I go onto those apps and I see shows from England, being that are over here being showcased in America, on Pluto TV being showcased, from Europe. And then also you have MLW, NWA, PCW Ultra. You have Impact, AAA, Ring of Honor. I mean, you got. I mean, it's like a territories, and it's you're seeing different wrestlers, you're seeing different types of styles, and what I try to tell people is, and you're going to see SWE. It will be on there as well. It has been on sometimes, but SWE, to answer your question, SWE is it's going to be SWE 360. I bought it with my money team. We call it The Line, which is Robert Langdon, Jason Jarrett, Aaron Presley, Kurt Zamora, and we have a plan in progress. And what I did is I went out to get the best booker in the business. That's Kevin Solomon. He's the guy that founded the NWO. He's a legend. We also have Dan Bynum as the director of TV. He was with World Class, World Championship Wrestling, Ring of Honor, MLW. He's going to do all the TV. Candice Michelle I brought her on to help run the women's division. 5-time WWE Women's Champion. I just have I have a really good place of positivity. And what we're doing is SWE is we are bringing it back to pro wrestling. You're going to have your heels and faces, separate locker rooms, and you're going to call it out in the ring, and we'll give you the finish, and then that's it. You will not. The heels and face will not see each other before the shows. They'll see each other after the shows or during when their match is on during the ring. So what you're going to see is real live pro wrestling, and you really can't mess up. It's not going to be choreographed. It's not going to be like a Circus Olay. And I know a lot of people have been educated at that, but this is what pro wrestling was before, and this is what I know in Texas. It's working really well. We're really packing them in because they want to see. Man, it looks real. Your work cannot be see-through. They're going to work. They're going to look the part, and they are the part. It's pro wrestling. It's I'm not telling them to be a character. I'm telling them to be themselves, to go out, and we're giving them the platform to magnify their attitude and their personality tenfold. So
it's definitely an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. So I've got all the links and everything to SWE 360 down below. So make sure you check it out and make sure keep an eye on that because it's an exciting time. I've got a couple industry-wide questions I want to throw your way before we do our usual.
Yeah, and I want to ask you too. Do you have any talent out there in England? I would love to bring them over. Or England, Scotland, Europe, anyone that you know of, any promotions? Man, we'd love to cross promote. I'd love to bring in tag team wrestling. I want to really make tag team back to where relevant again because let's face it, the first WrestleMania main event was a tag team match. Tag teams can be relevant, and that's something that I hold dear to my heart. I would let So if you know of any promotions that would be interested in cross promoting with us, please send me send me their information. I would love to get their champions over here and let people see what Europe has to offer. And what we have to offer. So I think it's a really great opportunity to do that right now.
Definitely, and you mentioned one of the questions about to ask you ties in perfectly because you mentioned sort of getting tag team wrestling back to where it can be. And there's a sort of general consensus amongst fans that tag team wrestling now versus 10 or so years ago, it doesn't seem to be treated with the same respect. I think people pointed out that in the WWE, I think there's, maybe 2 established tag teams at the moment. And obviously you've got all the drama going on with the women's tag team titles at the moment. As someone who is sort of amongst the pinnacle of tag team wrestling in sort of North America and sort of the wider sort of industry, what's it like for you looking at that? And do you agree with the consensus that tag team wrestling is kind of taking a decline in sort of focus from?
I agree 100%. I agree that tag team wrestling is taking a back seat to what's going on TV. I feel AEW has a lot of talent, so much talent. I don't think they have enough TV time for everybody. I think that'll weed itself out and they'll figure it out. I mean, they got a great owner. They got Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard over there. So, I mean, I would love what I want to do with SWE is I want to build a promotion where, we have the real tag team champions, and we'll have the SWE 360 tag team. We'll have 2 sets, kind of like how NWA, and then you had the US, tag team titles. And I want to build a really good tag team division where you're going to have a really good heel team. And if Shelton does get released, I'm going to run all the tag team. Like there's a lot of, people want to see a World's Greatest Tag Team versus the Briscoes again, a World's Greatest Tag Team versus the Rock and Roll Express, the World's Greatest Tag Team versus the Hardys, the World's Greatest Tag Team versus, God bless it if we could get 3D or Dudley's back together. We've never done that before. Then also, or 360, or World's Greatest Tag Team versus the Edgeheads, man. Brian Myers and Matt Cardona. That they were 2-time WWE World Tag Team Champions. We were 2-time, WWE Tag Team Champions, but we never wrestled each other. We were in that same area together. So, this is stuff that people would love to see. That that these matches are happening now on the independent. So that's saying SWE will not be an independent. We're going to be a promotion. We're going to be we're going to be a competitor. And I really, really am excited about tag team wrestling because I feel SWE, with my knowledge, with what Arn Anderson taught me, and with us able to cross promote with other promotions, with that the inevitable door, they call it, that door is opening and swinging both ways to where we can bring in other tag teams from other divisions and we can showcase tag team wrestling. And I want SWE to be part of that, to be one of the, hey, they got great talent in the singles, but their focus too is like, their tag team division can main event their pay-per-view. So
definitely, I think it's a super exciting time. I've got one final question before we do our closing sort of quick fire questions round. And it ties back to Inside the Ropes. Recently went on tour with Kurt. So we had Kurt over, did some shows with him. It was great. And one of the stories he told was the scrap plans from this year that was meant to be him coming back to the WWE and doing something with Otis and Chad Gable, who have kind of been labeled sort of the new wave World's Greatest Tag Team, the new wave sort of Team Angle. So I wanted to ask you, firstly, what you think of that comparison. And also, secondly, was there ever any sort of pitches for a Team Angle reunion over the last few years in the WWE with Shelton still being there or with Kurt coming in as well? And if you got that call, is it something you're interested in?
I'm definitely interested. I would do that. Like I said, I think, if whatever happens with Shelton in the future with WWE, if they do release him, it's inevitable. I think you will see a World's Greatest Tag Team. Now, will they bring me back? I don't know if they'll ever bring me back to wrestle. If they do, I'm not going in there as I did the last time. It's going in there as a tag team. And we want to be a major player. I'm not going in there to, I'm going in there to finish my career the way I wanted to finish it. And it's going to be on top. And it's going to be, if it's a Team Angle reunion, Kurt, I don't think he'll ever be able to wrestle again with 2 knee replacements. You're really not supposed to, but knowing him, he probably would. You just got to be careful with that. But would there be a reunion? I don't know. I never heard of Chad Gable and Otis being the new World's Greatest Tag Team. I've never heard that called. I didn't even know. I saw them at WrestleMania. They're a great tag team, great wrestlers. I know they both have paid their dues in amateur wrestling. I know they tried Shelton and Chad Gable as that. It just didn't work out. Shelton's just like, it's not the same feel. I don't think you're ever going to have a World's Greatest Tag Team. And if they do, and they want to compare it to us, you know what? Flattery, imitation, being imitated is a sign of flattery. It's a sign of respect. And they're just doing what they're told. So there's no hard feelings there. We'll see what happens. I want to see all amateur wrestlers make it to the top and say that, what, we can do it. It gives amateur wrestlers a place to, the more success stories we have, the better it is for amateur wrestlers to come out of college and make money. So that's what I have to say about that.
Fantastic. Right. So we always like to end our interviews in the same way because we know wrestling interviews often kind of flow the same way. We like to end on a little bit of a light note. So we've got 20 questions here. They're just quick fire, nice and simple, nice and chill. So I'm going to start with the first one here, which is, if you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Eye of the Tiger.
Great choice. What's your go-to cheat meal?
Pizza, frozen pizza.
Nice. What, if any, is your favorite video game?
Defender. I mean, I only played video games back in the Atari 2600 days.
What would you be watching if you had a day of just sitting in and binging Netflix?
Right now, Peaky Blinders.
Oh, great choice. Great choice. I won't give you any spoilers. What movie have you seen the most?
Braveheart.
Nice. What actor should play you in a movie about your life?
True. Ooh. That's a good one. We can go with the guy who played Thor, the guy who played Captain America.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I like it. What's your secret talent?
I'm a great country dancer, man. I can make the women, they love to dance with me.
It's a skill. It's one of those. It's I always got told you either need to be need to know how to cook, know how to dance, or know how to sing, right. or be extremely good looking. And luckily, I know how to cook.
Well, I don't know how to sing, so at least I can dance. So.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Oh yeah, pineapple. Yeah, the pineapple on pizza, yes. And if you throw a little sausage on that, or the bacon, or the Canadian bacon, that you have the Hawaiian pizza.
Nice. What's your favorite band or musical artist?
Right now, Def Leppard.
Oh, nice. A little bit of Pour Some Sugar. Nice. Yeah. I like it. If you were stuck on a desert island, what 3 items would you take with you?
Let's see, sunscreen, a towel, and let's see, the hottest diva there is right now. So
I like it. Good choices. If you weren't a wrestler, what would you be?
If I weren't a wrestler, what would I be? I guess I'd be working on Wall Street for Goldman Sachs, like I was doing. So
fair. What wrestling match do you rewatch the most?
Man, I love watching. I don't know, man. I binge all of it. I binge all of it. Let's see. The one that I've been watching the most was Hogan, Shawn Michaels, when it was SummerSlam. So.
Oh, nice. I like it. Who was the biggest locker room prankster during your time in the WWE?
JBL.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's your pre-match ritual?
Let's see. I mean, I get to the ring, walk the ring, make sure find out if the ropes are tight, or if they're loose, if there's any holes in the wood on the ring, how tall the ring is, and then I watch the matches before me to see what the type of crowd it is, and to see where the fans are and what the age group of the fans are, so I know how to bring them into the match. So there's a lot that goes on to it. So one thing is I don't put the match together backstage. I just like to call it out in the ring because it brings the fans into it. So it's a little bit different than what you see today. So
I like it. We're going to reword this someone because I know you're a very proud father. So it's normally what's your most annoying habit. Let's go with what would your daughters say is your most annoying habit? What's your most dad habit?
Whenever I'll roll the windows down when I see a bunch of guys walking like from school, I'm like, hey, my daughters need boyfriends, and they get all mad. They roll the window up and I lock it. They're like, Dad, you're embarrassing us. Stop it, Dad. So I'm always like, hey, my daughter's over here. They need a boyfriend, and they get all mad because they're 15 and 13 right now. So
it's the dad's job to do that. It's the dad's job to do that. Who was your wrestling idol growing up?
Arn Anderson.
Nice. Who would be 3 guests at your all-time dream dinner party?
At my dinner party?
Yeah.
Man, since I'm single, man, it would be Kate Beckinsale. Man, let's see. Sasha Banks. And who else? Man, who else? Man, let me think here. And man, I don't know. Let me think. One more. Sandra Bullock.
Nice. What would be one piece of advice you gave someone that was just starting out in wrestling?
It's not about the moves. It's the work between the moves. Don't worry about the move set. That will come along. It's the work between the moves. That's how you get over.
Nice. What's your guilty pleasure?
Man, I love eating Jack's frozen pizza and ice cream. That's my guilty pleasure.
It's a good guilty pleasure. And finally, what's the strangest fan request you've ever had?
To sign my boobs so I can have your signature tattooed there. Yes.
Nice. I like it. Well, that's everything. So thank you very much for coming along. I want to throw it over to you just to give you the chance to plug anything you need to plug. You know, where can the people support you, be that merch or SWE or anything else, the podcast, anything like that? The floor is yours.
Yeah. So it'll be SWE 360. You can check us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, also Charlie Haas, the real Charlie Haas on Instagram, Twitter, Charlie Haas at Charlie Haas, real Charlie Haas on Facebook. Wrestling's Greatest Podcast, also my own podcast that I'm doing, and just really support SWE 360. So look forward to that. And man, and I'm serious about getting people from Europe over here. I want to get a really good, I want to get all types of, all the wrestlers. I want to be able to showcase them and make us different. So yes. So reach out to me or reach out to, was it SW360 talent at gmail.com. SW360 talent, all one word, at gmail.com.
Perfect. Well, there you are, guys. We'll have all that information in the description for you as well. Thank you, Charlie, again, for coming along and taking the time out. And we will catch you guys next time.
Take care.